Kevin Michael Schmitz here, and I'm here broadcasting from Sydney, Australia, and I'm so excited to have you guys, each and every one of you, on because this is one of my favorite topics. It is the 7 secrets to getting published, to winning awards, and being successful in fashion photography. It's something that I have actually made a life and a career off of helping and guiding photographers from around the world achieve their goals by being able to essentially catapult their portfolio and get them out there publishing, get them out there winning awards, get them out there landing major campaigns and earning more money as a photographer and being far more successful. So this is something that I'm personally really passionate about. And I'm really excited that you guys are joining us because we have an amazing webinar today that is going to give you some insight into how the editorial industry works. It's a bit different than a lot of people even understand. I think a lot of fashion photographers, even ones that get published, even ones that many of you guys that are on right now have been published. Many of you, whether it's a local magazine or a regional or even a national magazine or international magazine, many of you have been published and many of you have not, and that's okay. But even those of you guys who've been published, I think you're gonna pick up some valuable insight today, not only from me, but also from a major photographic agent. And guys, to get a photographic agent, you have to be essentially the top 1/1000th of 1% of photographers. And we have one on today named Jay Foster, who is an amazing photographic agent who has represented some of the most famous big-time photographers that shoot editorial, celebrities, advertising, we also have BK, who is the owner of Number 8 magazine. It's a fashion magazine based out of Australia. So I'm really excited to bring him on as well and have you guys ask him questions and have him talk about what he looks for when publishing photographers, because I think that's a really great insight. And it's rare that we actually bring on photo editors and owners of magazines during these live webinars, but I thought today's going to be the last one before Christmas, and I want to make sure to give you guys something really special. So all right, guys, my entire career I have focused on photography. That's all I've ever done. I did my bachelor's and my MFA to be a professor of photography. I'm now working as a celebrity fashion advertising photographer. I shoot 6-figure ad campaigns. In fact, I have 2 $150,000 ad campaigns that I'm in the whole proposal process and getting into pre-production and preparing to shoot in early 2022. So I have a lot of experience, not only publishing, because I've been publishing over 200 magazines, but I also have a lot of experience in shooting high-end production and advertising campaigns. But most importantly, I'm going to tell you guys essentially my 7 secrets to getting published and winning photographic awards, that if you follow them and you can kind of understand some of the real world aspects of the industry, the editorial industry, it's going to help you achieve greatness and achieve publication. So the first secret that I want to get into is essentially secret number 1. Getting published is actually a lot easier than you might think. A lot of photographers think that, oh my gosh, they're seeing the glossy magazines of Vogue and Vanity Fair and Harper's Bazaar, these major publications, and they think, oh, it's just impossible to get published. And you know what? Those are very difficult magazines to get published in. That is true. But not to say that you can't necessarily get published in Harper's Bazaar Arabia or Vogue Japan, or shooting for Vanity Fair Singapore. They have different publications in different markets around the world, and the ability to get hired to shoot for those other magazines is actually a lot easier than you might think. I think that a lot of times, a lot of photographers just don't even know where to begin, right? But remember, getting published is a lot easier than you think. And there's a lot of reasons for that, and we're going to get into that in some of the other secrets. But I also want you guys to be aware that in addition to those high-profile magazines, there are plenty of online magazines. There are plenty of smaller scale magazines in Europe, in America, all over the world, in the Middle East, in Asia. There's just hordes of publications. And honestly, magazines They're always doing things on a shoestring budget. So they are excited if you can bring something to the table. If you've got something amazing that you can tell, some sort of a story, then I can tell you what, you can get published. I think literally all of you guys on right now watching this webinar could get published in a magazine. You just need to know how to go about making that happen. And I think that, that one of the biggest challenges that most of photographers face is that they're just afraid. They're afraid of rejection. And I think that, secret number 2 is really all about never fearing rejection. I love rejection. I can tell you what, I love it. To me, I get so excited about being rejected because it means that now, like, I have 2 choices. If I submit an editorial to a magazine, say I submit like a creative brief, a story to a magazine, and they say, no, not interested. Well, now, there's either one of 2 things happening. Either one, they didn't like my story, or maybe it didn't meet the criterion of what the editorial calendar looks like for the magazine, or they're just not interested in me. Either way, I am happy because I can check that, cross them off my list if they're not interested. And if they are interested, but they just don't like the story I'm telling, then I need to know that. So I'm going to follow up with questions, asking that photo editor or that editor of the magazine and finding out, okay, what do you want? What are you looking for? Are you interested in my work, or is my work not fit your magazine? And that's okay. I have very specific fashion photography, and if it doesn't meet the parameters of what their magazine looks like, then they're never going to hire me. And that's okay. That's okay. But there are plenty of magazines out there that it will match. There are plenty of magazines that will publish me. And I think that you guys need to realize that, a lot of times these magazines, they're just looking for a certain aesthetic and a certain look and feel, right? So for instance, when we're getting published, when I got published in, say, FLAUNT magazine, right? And by the way, we did this at one of our elite fashion photography workshops in LA, and we had photographers get published in FLAUNT magazine, which is a major fashion magazine. It's actually one of the top fashion magazines, the top fashion magazine in California. But getting published in FLAUNT, it took telling a story and getting the magazine involved. Okay, so when pitching to a magazine, this is secret number 3, I want you guys to be aware that magazines, of course, they're getting inundated by photographers all the time, throwing their work at them, interested in working with them. And hey, that's fine, that's great. But I think you need to take it a step further, beyond just showcasing your fashion photography. Okay, great, we do great fashion photography. Yeah, wonderful, but what kind of story can I bring to the table? Is there a story that I can bring to the table to that magazine that's going to fit their editorial calendar? Okay, so magazines all have what we call an editorial calendar, meaning that they have planned out, and I'd love to actually, ask, say the owner of Number 8 magazine who's joining us, BK, about this as well, about how he plans out his editorial calendar for the year. But oftentimes magazines will plan out for an entire year. They'll have all of 2022 already mapped out. So all we have to do is ask the magazine for their editorial calendar and find out, okay, great, this is the editorial calendar of the story that they want to tell. And knowing, okay, we're going to have, say, February is going to be the men's issue. And, March is going to be, say the blue issue, or, May is, the spring issue. June is going to be the special, fun in the sun issue, whatever. They have all kinds of themes for different magazines, depending on what the publication is. But remember, the editorial content has to match the theme of what the magazine is going for. So you've got to be absolutely aware that when you're working with these magazines, that you've got to make sure that your photography matches the editorial calendar, and the story that you want to tell has to match it. It has to be spot on and matching what the editorial calendar of the magazine is looking to publish. Otherwise, they're not going to publish it. No matter how great your images are, even if it's the most insane production, but it doesn't fit the editorial calendar, they're just not interested, okay? And I want to make sure that we're going to give them every reason to hire us, to give us a budget if they have one. And if they don't have one, whatever, we're still going to shoot it anyway. But I want to make sure that you guys are realizing that we need to tell the story based on what the magazine is looking for. That's really, really, really vitally important. And you know, this is just some fashion photography that we had done that's actually just been published, that we just did in Las Vegas, shooting at a cracked earth desert. And you guys all probably saw the you know, the amazing cover of you know, this webinar with the publication and to showcase you know, the incredible cover and some of the editorial story that was shot. So the image on the left, for instance, was ended up being the cover of Glass magazine, and this was shot by Joy Stratz, who attended the Las Vegas experience, and Joy had, you know, submitted her images to a series of, you know, different magazines, and in an editorial story format. And when you submit the editorial, for instance, in images that all meet a thematic theme within a story to the photo editor that matches their editorial calendar, she got published. In fact, she just got another one published again from the same workshop. She actually is publishing two major stories and covers, which is really exciting. So for me, like, I get really excited about that because I love to see photographers get published. I love to see you know, you guys get out there and actually get covers of magazines, because then it's, you know, very obvious it's a publication. Otherwise, if it's a publication, oftentimes you'll just see like you know, typography in the bottom left or the top left that'll showcase that there's you know, the credits and stuff from the shoot, and you know that it's been an editorial publication, but you don't necessarily know if it was, you know, if you got a cover, it's right in your face and you know that. But critically important, you guys. All right, now it brings me to the next secret. So secret number 3, I want to make sure that you guys are targeting the right magazines with the content for the editorial calendar that they are looking for, okay? Now, when I'm targeting magazines, there's a lot of ways to do this. One of the ways, and I would say the easiest way, is the pay-to-play way, which is essentially you buy a list. So I've done this. I've had Agency Access, Yoda List, Bikini List. Those are all major listservs, and essentially you pay to have access to these lists. And the lists have essentially, you know, a huge listing of all these amazing magazines, right? The magazines that that publish photographers. And with these lists, they are, you know, you have to pay for them, but they're worth it because you know now, okay, I know what exactly, which magazine, where they're located, who the photo editor is, the fashion editor, the editor-in-chief, their email address, their phone number, mailing address, all the details. So you know them and you can start reaching out. Now, to be fair, the Agency Access database, I mean, it has a lot, but it's not complete and it doesn't have everything. And I've found that in my experience, it's very, very good with ad agencies. I would say a little bit weaker when it comes to magazines. I still think it's worth it, but I would use, if you're going to invest, you're going to spend, you know, the couple grand on the full suite of doing Agency Access or whatever, or Bikini List or Yoda List or whatever, I would definitely do it specifically for the ad agencies. Not, you know, the magazines are kind of a subsidiary thing, but I still use it for that. One of the old school ways, I mean, there's ways of pulling lists up online, especially if like they're, you know, you can look them up, you can Google them, of course, and look them up. And there are databases of magazines in Europe or of magazines in Asia, you know, et cetera. But there's also the old school way of doing it too. And, you know, rather than pining through all that data, I also have done this many times where I literally just get my butt down to a Barnes & Noble bookstore and I just go and I just search through all these amazing magazines and I take an image, take a picture with my phone of the masthead. Every magazine has a masthead. So it's in, you know, you've got the cover, you open it up, there's a few pages that is just basically ads. And then the first pages of content usually have what they call a masthead. And a masthead is essentially a listing of all of the people that work within the magazine, and usually it has their email addresses, which is really convenient. So now you can start contacting them. And generally you want to reach out to the photo editor. You could also reach out to the fashion editor. And if it's a smaller magazine, maybe the, you know, the editor-in-chief of the magazine or the owner of the magazine. So those are generally the people that you're going to be reaching out to. But oftentimes you want to make a lot of relationships with them, okay? But targeting them is key. So for instance, if I'm going to be, submitting, like, for instance, I've done this before, I've made this mistake. I've taken images like this and I pitch them to the full list on Agency Access of all the magazines. But a lot of the magazines are like Southern Hospitality or, some sort of like bridal magazine or whatever. And if it's a magazine that's not appropriate for what we're showing, they're just going to ignore you and they're going to think that you're not branded towards them. Okay, so I would be very careful and selective and target the magazines you want to get published in. Target them and be very, very selective about not only the magazines you want to publish in, but also the editorial calendar in which the magazines have. If you need to know that, email somebody at the magazine or call the magazine and ask them for the editorial calendar. Sometimes it's also available in what they call their media kit. So all magazines have a media kit. Oftentimes you can download it from the magazine's website, or you can email them and request a media kit. And that's essentially what they would send to an advertiser. But you can also use the media kit to find out what the editorial calendar is and how much the ad space is per page. So for instance, Vogue magazine, typically $175,000 a page for, like, say, a back cover or an inside cover, and may even be more. So it's going to be a pretty sizable amount. And this also helps you when you're doing high-end advertising photography, helps you understand, if they're placing it in print magazines, what the media buy is. So if you're going to be placing it in, say, 10 different magazines, equivalent of Vogue and Vanity Fair, ELLE, all those magazines, and it's, say, $175,000 a page times 10 magazines, okay, now we know the media buy for that. We're looking at, 1.75 $1 million, huge media buy, massive media buy for, the publication, basically taking your images and getting them in that advertising space. Okay. Now, then you can calculate your usage based upon that if you're shooting the ad campaign that actually places, all those glossy ads that you see placed within the publication. All right, so before I get into the next secret of getting published and winning awards, I'm going to answer a couple questions here. Joel Jarugi says, I know this is for fashion, but I'm a wedding photographer and I wanted to see if you feel any of these tips would apply to wedding publications. Are there any tips to help here? Absolutely, Joel. Oh my gosh, this is exactly what you need as a wedding photographer, 110%. You need to do exactly the same thing. High-end wedding magazines, they are looking for photographers that are fashion photographers, not wedding photographers. Despite what you might think, they're looking for fashion photographers that happen to shoot weddings. That's what we can help you with and help turn you into one of those, okay, at our workshops, because they're looking for high-end fashion photography, but guided towards weddings, right? So when you type this in, and for instance, if I'm going to type this into Google, right? And this is something that, for instance, I just typed in bridal wedding magazines, and I look up into Google and I see all these covers of bridal wedding magazines, right? And there's all these bride magazines. Well, most of these are celebrities or they're top models, top fashion models. And if you want to, become a bigger wedding photographer, Joel, I would highly recommend get published in some wedding magazines. Shoot an epic fashion story, a series of fashion stories that kind of go in that realm, and then pitch a wedding fashion story to the magazines to get published. And you might even want to collaborate with some publicists. You might want to collaborate with some bridal brands. In fact, if you want to get into Brides Magazine or Bridal Guide or something like that, I would look to see which brands are advertising in the magazine. Okay, so this is secret number 4: finding out who the advertisers are within the magazine and catering your editorial around the advertisers. Okay, this is something a lot of people don't think about. So if you open up Bridal Magazine and you open it up, and the front, the inside the front cover is probably going to be an ad for diamond rings, or it's going to be an ad for a bridal gown company that makes amazing bridal wear. Okay, maybe you should contact those brands, because they are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on shoots and placement into those magazines. And if they're spending all of that money, that means that the magazines are going to do whatever it takes to please those advertisers, meaning that if you incorporate their advertisers' pieces into your editorial, your chances of now getting published skyrocket. Okay, I do this all the time. So if I'm going to look up in a magazine and say, hey, I want to shoot for this specific magazine, I'm going to look up who their advertisers are, the biggest advertisers, which usually come in on the inside front cover and on the back cover. And I'm going to research who they are, research who the decision makers are at those companies, and maybe even reach out to them and ask them to let me pull their wardrobe for the magazine that they're advertising in, right? They're more likely to then do it, because that means if they're doing an editorial with you, that means it's free advertising for them, because the editorial is generally not paid unless it's called an advertorial, which is a whole nother beast, where essentially it's a combination of an ad and an editorial in one. But generally, they want they're obviously paying a huge amount of money to be in that magazine anyway. So why not have you take some of their dresses, their $10,000 dresses, and use them in your editorial, and it's going to give them a free ad. I just did this, actually. I just did this at my castle in France. So, as many of you guys know, I own a 49-room castle in France, and I actually just did a massive scale fashion wedding story at the castle. And, and while I was there, I worked with this top model that he came in, I brought in from Germany. And while I was there, what I did was I reached out to all these bridal companies. And they wanted to all get published, and I wanted to feature the castle as a premier location, for brides. I wanted to, make it like this amazing destination where people are going to be doing $3 million weddings there, right? So if we're going to be doing that, I wanted to showcase and make sure that that when we're going to be showcasing these amazing gowns that will get published in magazines, and they're shot at this unbelievable location. So that's another thing you can do, is you can bring some more to the table. You can bring epic locations to the table. Or even if, say, a location is an advertiser, say Ritz-Carlton might be an advertiser in the bridal magazine because they want people to use that as a venue. Incorporate Ritz-Carlton as the venue for your fashion story, right? Or in the case of my French castle, and if you go to you can actually take a look on our website. It's FrenchDreamCastle.com, but you can kind of see what what I'm talking about here. But this is a 49-room epic 40,000 square foot castle in Massy-en-Cambrai in France. And I shot with this amazing top model, and we did this big, huge fashion shoot. We're going to be releasing a, essentially a fashion film and an editorial publication featuring these amazing gowns, the amazing top model. We're shooting at this incredible castle. And obviously it's going to be publicity to promote the amazing location that we're going to be using as a destination filming location for, think of Downton Abbey, Bridgerton, as well as high-end other motion pictures and television shows. So but listen, I mean, this applies to all of you guys, whether you're doing wedding editorials, whether you're doing fashion editorials, whether you're doing lifestyle editorials, all of you guys, this is absolutely critical and important. Okay, another secret that I want to talk about, you guys, is secret number 5 is essentially kind of the dirty little secret of what a lot of magazines do. And a lot of times photographers don't realize this, but there is a reason certain celebrities and certain people end up on the cover of magazines. It's not because, generally not because the editor of the magazine just decided, oh yeah, like, I just think Kim Kardashian is going to draw in a lot of interest. Like, yeah, maybe they will, but they also have, 50 other celebrities that, A-list celebrities that they could easily put on the cover of that issue of Vogue magazine. But one of my associates, Raven Duran, who's actually a publicist who I work with and who has actually been a panelist at several of my workshops, she has actually talked to me personally about this, about how she was able to work with some people to have Kim Kardashian publish on the front cover of a major magazine, and she paid them $100,000 to get her published on the cover. This happens all the time. Major celebrities, they foot the bill, and and if they're not, if they're not like total A-listers that are being sought after by the magazine, oftentimes they are paying to get that cover. They're paying to be on the front of Vogue and Vanity Fair. This happens all the time. Or even if it's a B-list celebrity or a C-list celebrity, they pay a lot more. Oftentimes they're really desperate, so they're going to have their publicist pay on the behalf of them to get them published. Now, what this means for you is actually a good thing, because you as a photographer need to realize that that means that there's more money behind it. right? There's more money behind the editorial if it's going to be a paid cover for that celebrity. So what we need to do is we need to build relationships with those publicists. We need to, if you want to be published in editorial photography, you should have a whole army of publicists that you know, that you have relationships with, that you are scratching their back, they're scratching yours. Sometimes you may have to do some things like shoot some press junkets or do some, some editorial promotion where you're doing stuff for free or next to nothing for the publicist. But once you get on the good side of these big time publicists, oftentimes they can bring you on for major jobs, whether it's even if it's an unpaid shoot, but it's for a major publication. If you're getting in on L'Officiel or FLAUNT or even Harper's Bazaar or something, it's a big deal to get published in major magazines, right? So having relationships with publicists is absolutely key and critical. And also, if you want to get those paid shoots, which are of course the best ones, because that means if Kim Kardashian's spending $100,000 to be on the cover, she's probably going to be spending a pretty substantial budget on hiring the photographer as well, because there's now essentially a media buy, right? So it is an editorial, but it's still, she's spending money. It's not a free shoot, because editorial kind of means free. There are paid editorials, but honestly, in this day and age, going into 2022, most editorials, most magazines don't have any money to spend, or if they do, it's $500 or a couple $1,000, doesn't even cover the cost of production. So oftentimes, this is another secret of fashion photography, unfortunately, is getting published is, listen, most magazines aren't going to pay you, so you have to foot the bill. You have to foot the bill for the production, and that can be expensive. I worked with a photographer a few years ago who had shot 8 covers of Vogue. Okay. And he had done it, several years ago. And it did help his career, but he had told me personally that he lost money every single time he did it. He would spend at least $8,000 out of his own pocket per shoot. Right. So think about that. Think of how much money he was spending out of his own pocket, to get 8 covers of Vogue. But you got to weigh it out. Is it worth it? Maybe it is. If you want to, get to the top, it might be worth spending some money out of pocket to produce a shoot. I know I do. Whenever I shoot an editorial, or, even if I'm doing a television production, I oftentimes, I don't care what the cost is. I want to make sure it's absolutely epic, even if it comes out of pocket, because I want to make sure anything that my name is attached to has to be world class, has to be absolutely epic, has to be incredible. Okay. All right. Now, one of the other secrets to getting published and winning awards, guys, is we need to get ourselves out there. Okay. Our photographers, so many of them are scared of entering in awards because you're worried about maybe you won't win. They're scared about getting published because maybe they're not interested in you. Maybe they don't want you. But I'm here to tell you that is the #1 thing holding you back. And the first thing I want each and every one of you guys to do after this webinar is I want you to reach out to a list of at least 10 magazines, and the 10 magazines that you would want to be published in. And I want you to practice this. I want you to reach out and find out who their fashion editor is, who their photo editor is, who the editor-in-chief of the magazine is. And I want you to reach out and ask for their editorial calendar. And I want you to start creating stories that you can pitch to the magazines. Okay. So for instance, I have a story that I had been designing for a while that I'm going to be using for my French castle. Right. And this is one that I'm going to be telling this summer, or this next summer. We're going to be doing this. And this is what I'm planning to do, something just like this for my fabulous French castle shoot in August. And I want to do something absolutely mind-blowing like this, right? So I want to tell the story with unbelievable couture dresses that are period piece, that are even bespoke, unbelievable dresses that are handmade to create these unbelievable stories, and have top models. I want to have major models. And bring in world-class top talent that from Milan and from Paris, and I'm going to tell the story. This is an example of a creative brief, one that I'm pitching to magazines to get them to publish it, telling them about this amazing high fashion couture gowns from the 16th and 17th century, you know, going in for this King Louis XIV style from essentially the early to mid 1600s, and having this unbelievable story that is at a palace. And I'm going to have a carriage. We're going to have horses. We're going to have these unbelievable gowns. And by the way, this is all part of a photographic workshop at my castle. It's a 6-day experience in August of 2022. And we also have a section in 2023. We just do this once a year, but it's a mind-blowing experience. But this is a story that I tell to the magazines, and then it's up to the magazines to say, hey, you know, I want to run it, or no, I'm not interested. But the level of production is really, really critical. And I think that you guys need to realize that having a story like this is so much more valuable than just showing them your pictures, because a lot of photographers are literally throwing their images against the wall and just hoping they stick, hoping that, oh yeah, maybe they'll like me, maybe they'll hire me. That's not the way to do it. You guys need to come in and be creative and start thinking about, what are they looking for? What are the clients looking for? What do the magazines want? They want something based upon their editorial calendar. They want stories because they're busy, they're overworked, underpaid. So you want to make sure you're providing them with stories just like this. And I even come in with not just one, but I come in with 3 stories where I'll tell 3 stories, and I'll tell, okay, we're going to do one, you know, at this amazing, you know, castle in France. Here's another one where, you know, we're going to tell this, this incredible story for like the vintage airplane story. And we're going to do something with a vintage airplane. And by the way, this is something we just did. And we went from this amazing vintage airplane couture fashion editorial for our elite masterclass. It was designed by Mike Weilet, was one of our attendees. And we created this mind-blowing content. We worked with unbelievable top models that have been in Vogue and Vanity Fair and Harper's Bazaar. And we're able to publish this. You know, it's unbelievable. It's incredible. It's telling stories that are completely over the top and making things that are going to essentially be iconic and stand the test of time. That's what I'm looking for. I want stuff that's going to blow the minds of the magazine. I want stuff that's going to get them excited. I want stuff that's going to completely turn their heads. And it's not something that they're going to get anywhere else, because the production quality is so epic. It's so over the top that they're just like, oh my gosh, all right, now I want to work with you. Now I want to work with you. You know, we also just, you know, produce this unbelievable story with the Mad Max story as well, which, you know, if you guys have watched any of the most recent webinars as well, you know, here's another creative brief. And these are all, you know, creative briefs essentially that if I wanted to shoot for the magazine that I wanted, you know, to pitch to them. Now, another secret fashion photography, secrets to publishing and winning awards is that a lot of photographers, they think like, okay, well, yeah, we can, how do I do it? Do I shoot a fashion shoot and then submit it to a magazine? Or do I get a magazine to go along with it and then you know, essentially go and be hired by them to do the shoot? Well, the answer is you do both. A lot of times, you know, the bigger magazines, the major magazines, the ones like Vogue and Vanity Fair and Harper's Bazaar and ELLE, ELLE, WWD, Wonderland, those magazines, they really don't take any editorial submissions as far as ones that had already been shot and then published. What they do is that you have to essentially pitch your idea, you have to build a relationship with them, and oftentimes, you know, it's either directly with that fashion editor or photo editor, or you have a publicist on your side, and then essentially get them to go along with you telling that story for that magazine for a specific editorial story that's going to fit into their calendar. And then they hire you to do the shoot. You then have a lot of involvement with the magazine. They have a lot of say as far as which wardrobe is, which brands they're going to use, because obviously they want you to use brands that are going to be in the magazine that are advertisers. They're going to have say sometimes in even the casting. They're going to have a lot of say, but remember, it's your story. So make sure that you are essentially telling the story, because as an editorial, you're often never getting paid. There's no money in it. It's not because we're not doing it to get paid. We're not doing it. You can't even make a living as an editorial photographer. It's literally not possible. I don't know any photographers who do. Editorial photographers, they do it to land the jobs. If you're landing celebrity jobs after that, if you're landing shoots for advertising campaigns, generally people do it to shoot the fashion campaigns for the fashion brands that advertise in the magazines. So you're not going to make money at it. In fact, sometimes you'll lose money at it, but we're doing it for publicity. That's why I've been publishing over 200 magazines, because for me, I'm doing it for publicity. whether, you know, even if I'm losing money, it doesn't matter, because I want to be out there. I want my images being out there all the time. Your images need to be. And those of you guys who have not taken a workshop yet, you got to make sure the other secret to getting published is making sure your production is world class, making sure that your content is just on top of the world, right? Making sure that you're working with A-list models, shooting images that are just completely insane. And by the way, David Giesbrecht, who's one of our panelists today, these are some of his images that he had shot at our New York fashion workshop. These are images that are mind-blowing, right? Fashion photography at this level is so high quality, and this is what you need. You need content with top models, models that have been in the Versace campaign, models that have been, you know, walking the runways for Giorgio Armani, which these girls had, models that have been in Vogue and Vanity Fair, you know, really, really critical. And having talent that is so over the top that the magazines, they want to publish them because they're A-list talent. Okay, that's really, really, really important. And I always seek out models that have had covers of major magazines, because that does lend to you know, future magazines wanting to publish it, because it's like, oh wow, okay, you know, you just shot, you know, this top model for ELLE mag, you know, she's been in ELLE, yeah, and by the way, we worked with her in Las Vegas at the Las Vegas Fashion Photography Workshop, you know, you know, we had shot Velena at the you know, the Las Vegas experience, and you know, and it's like we turn these images in from you know, mind-blowing images that we're then shooting not only these top models, but then we're getting them shot at the workshops and then getting them published. It's pretty spectacular. So, all right. So we have a bunch of panelists on today, and I want to make sure you guys stay to the end of this webinar, because they have a lot of juicy information. I'd love for BK to jump on first. He's joining us actually from Australia. He's an amazing, he's the owner of No. 8 magazine, which is pretty fantastic. And he is in BK. Oh, there he is. He's actually broadcasting from Perth. And
hi, everyone.
Yeah, it's super early in the morning there. So it's great to see you, man. So BK, you know, I understand, and you've also published, not only do you own the magazine, but you've also published a series of covers and editorials in your magazine from our photographic workshops, which is really exciting. I think that, you know, it's really cool to see images that we shoot end up getting featured in, you know, your magazine, and even getting the covers in your magazine is pretty spectacular. So I'd love to, you know, hear your perspective about that, and talk a little bit about No. 8 magazine and what you guys look for in photographers.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for the opportunity, Kevin, and hello to everyone from a little bit of a cloudy Perth, Western Australia, currently at City Beach. Look, number 18, No. 8 magazine is essentially a critics portfolio magazine, and focusing on fashion, beauty, and art. And what we like to do is to try to showcase things that are a little bit different and a little bit creative, at the same time also providing opportunities for those creatives that are new to being published, and giving them a gateway to the world of being published in an editorial submission. The photos we look for, as far as the magazine is concerned, we generally do not have themes, as it were. We have two primary volumes that are focused on swimwear and avant-garde, bridal avant-garde. They're probably our only two themed magazines, as it were. The rest of the time we focus on content that is largely open and mixed in variety, so that when a reader looks at the magazine, they're getting a little bit of perhaps beachwear or lifestyle, and then they're getting some fashion, and they're getting some swimwear, and then they're getting some beauty, and it really mixes the content up, rather than just going high fashion, high fashion, high fashion, or swimwear, swimwear, swimwear. And I find that it typically helps maintain the reader's attention. The other thing that I guess as a editor that is looking at the content and deciding whether it is suitable for the magazine or not, we're largely looking for photographers who have an eye for trying to catch their subject and their whatever it is they're trying to achieve. I don't want to go into the discussion of the borderline, I guess, between composition and framing. You know, is composing an image framing an image, and is framing an image composing an image? So rather than focus on the technicalities of that and, you know, what it is that we look for in a particular image, I guess from a technical perspective, I'd rather focus it from a creative perspective. So what we're looking for is, I guess, covers an editorial that is got content to try and become a cover. It just has to have something that grabs our attention. As Kevin has so correctly stated over and over again, it has to be something that catches the eye of the editor, and the editor turns around and goes, I like it because I can see potential for this on the cover. I can see fantastic potential layout of mixing images, and we think that it will work very well for the magazine. When you are submitting to a magazine, we personally encourage people to submit the entire image. Now, the primary reason, I'll come back to this in a second. I mean, this is just amazing. This editorial, Kevin, was just phenomenal. I mean, our cover for the first anniversary issue was from the shoot, and it was literally, you know, fantastic. It was an epic image. The reason why we ask for people to submit the entire image is it enables us to be able to say, hey, look, this image is great. This is what we think the photographer intended to capture. He wanted a little bit of blank space here. He wanted these little lines, and there's all this sort of stuff that captures the attention and the focus of the viewer. And we want to try to retain as much of what we can in what the photographer wanted to achieve, and try to place the image and crop and zoom and all the rest of it so that it complements the adjoining image or the next image, but doesn't flow so that it looks repetitive. So we don't want a zoomed in image and then a zoomed out image. Just like these, we want to have images that are different when they go from page to page to page, and they can come back to a similar outfit or something like that, but in a different composition and framing. So that's very, very important for us because it holds the attention of the viewer. And these are classic examples where you have variety on a location and you're still able to deliver a story that is cohesive. And these are amazing images.
Absolutely. So when photographers, you know, they're publishing, it sounds like you're looking for kind of a creative vision, and I like your perspective because it's a little bit more driven towards the creative side and the photography side rather than just advertisers. But do you have any guidance and suggestions for when photographers are submitting for editorial publication of what, you know, you would want to see when getting published? Is there, you know, you want to see high-end production? Do you want to see world-class models? Do you want to see great storytelling? What are you looking for?
Ideally, what I would like to see, as far as number 8 is concerned, is look, talent is being discovered every day, everywhere around the world. There are advantages to us having known names. You know, for example, in one of our magazines, we had Alexa Collins, for example, in our sister magazine, Chrome magazine. There are huge advantages to having known names and known identities on the covers and in editorial content, because it obviously attracts a far greater following to our magazine as well. However, we also like to, as in one of our recent covers, for example, I can't remember the name of the model. It just dropped last night. We finished, I think the magazine was published at about 1:30 a.m. or 2:30 a.m. Local time. Here we go. That's the latest cover. Now, this is an underwater shoot. The photographer and creative director got the front and back cover of the magazine, which is extremely unusual. Adam Friedman, for example, is along with his team scored front and back cover of our magazine as well. There's only a handful of photographers that have succeeded in doing that, and Jean-Franco, Ian Colonna from Canada, Roberto Manita from Italy as well. You know, all amazing photographers that have achieved amazing results. And this is our latest cover. As I said, it just dropped last night. So when we're looking for the content, great names are great if you can deliver with those great names. Otherwise, you might be walking down the street and you might see this amazing guy or this amazing model girl that you think would be fantastic in this outfit or in this concept or something like that, but whatever it is that person possesses in their physique, in their hair and beauty, and in their face, their cheek lines, their hair, just the way that the hair may have been messy on the day you saw them, and you go, oh my God, she'd be amazing on the back of a horse on a white sandy beach. Or you think, oh my God, I saw this dress in the shop and I would love to put this on this guy, for example, who's an androgynous look, and I would love to shoot him on the rooftop, or you know, getting out of a 1930s Land Rover or something like that. You have to have this creative vision of what you would like to do with whatever it is that you have at your fingertips, or that you would like to book, or that you would like to collaborate with, and aim towards achieving something that is an artistic visualization or a realization of an artistic visualization in your head. It has to be something that you can achieve and deliver, but do not stick to your current standard. Always try to, as Michael has repeatedly said, try to aim for something bigger and better that you can achieve. I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. And I really appreciate you jumping on and sharing even the sneak peek of these covers that you just completed. So, but you know, you've got a beautiful magazine, and I've been really proud of the editorials that I've worked with Adam Friedman to get covers. And then also, the stuff that we're going to be doing coming forward. It's going to be amazing. The production level of what we create is, on top of the world. And it's something that I think is a great match because of the creative vision and also the storytelling and the high level production that we're able to do. So thank you so much, BK. I really appreciate you jumping on. You gave some great words of advice. And I think that our photographers are going to learn a lot from all your brilliant perspective.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Absolute pleasure. And apologies that I look so tired. It's been a very, very short period of sleep prior to this webinar.
He never sleeps. He told me, BK told me he works like 20 hours a day, gets 4 hours of sleep. So like he's just a machine, but I'm very impressed. And thank you so much, BK. I appreciate it. And we'll be in touch to get some more stuff on the covers of your magazine.
Absolutely. Look forward to it, and looking forward to featuring all of your creative team's work.
Excellent. All right. Thanks, BK. Well, I love it. And guys, make sure I just asked a poll on the webinar. If you guys want to please answer it. It's if you guys are interested in any of these epic productions like we've been talking about, whether it's Las Vegas, whether it's New York, whether it's the epic experience we have in Los Angeles at the masterclass. This is essential if you want to get published, having content like this. I'm not sure, Nick, if you're on, but Nick Seth Smith, he basically started off doing kind of portraits and some weddings, and he shot this image. And the reason I bring this up is he booked a $19,500 wedding. Then he just booked like another I think it was like an $18,000 shoot that he told us about yesterday. That's why he couldn't jump on as a panelist today, is because he has like another $18,000 shoot that he got booked on. And I'm so proud of him because, just images like this that win awards, that get you at the top of the game. And he had submitted this for the awards. And what's awesome is these will book you more shoots that are going to make you more money, guys. Editorial and great high-end production like we do at our workshops is what's going to get you to the top. I promise you that it will transform your photographic career. And if you want to have publications, if you want to win awards, it's very easy to do once you attend these workshops, because the production level is so high end, so over the top, so elite. And that's why we have experiences all over, from Newport Beach on lifestyle, Las Vegas on high fashion. We've got Miami Beach, which is on swim and resort and Sports Illustrated swim lifestyle. We've got Washington, D.C., which is on slice of life. Chicago, which is a vintage fashion story, and the French Castle story, which we talked about, and then New York, and the Elite Masterclass in L.A., which is what this image was shot at, and also the images that Adam Friedman had got published on the cover of number 8 was also shot at. So if you guys are interested, please go ahead and answer the poll. That's awesome. And also on the chat, I've also mentioned there's a link. And for those of you guys who have not done one yet, and even if you already have, I encourage you strongly to, guys, it's going into 2022, we need to come up with a plan, each and every one of you, because 2022 is going to be the biggest year yet for photographers. The amount of money that's flowing in is just out of this world. The amount of things that are opening up, the economy is booming and crushing it, from photography to fashion, lifestyle advertising, weddings, portraiture, personal branding. All of it is exploding, and I want to make sure you guys are all at the front of the pack. So make sure that you have what it takes, meaning a world-class portfolio, high-end production, high-end content, top models in your portfolio, editorial publications, winning awards in major magazines, or winning major awards and getting published in major magazines. All of that is going to lend to you having more success in 2022. And it's important to me that you guys all go big, because I work like relentlessly to work with you guys to make sure that you're achieving your goals. And that's what I want. I don't want anything less than greatness for my photographers. I demand it. Okay. It is really, really important. So I want you guys to think about this and to make sure that all of your resources for your photographic career need to be pushed into basically 2 things. One is your photographic portfolio, and the other is towards marketing that portfolio. Okay. That is where you should be allocating your resources, not buying equipment, not buying the fancy new gear over the holidays, not wasting money on lenses, camera equipment, lighting equipment that you don't have clients paying for. Whenever I want to buy gear, I do it when I have a client that's willing to give me a budget. When I have a client that's giving me a $150,000 budget for a campaign and I can allocate $10,000 towards equipment rentals, I use that $10,000 to buy more equipment for myself. And then I rent it to myself over and over again. And that's why I have made hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years just on my equipment alone, renting my equipment to myself to do photo shoots. I do that all day, and it is a strong technique. Now, in editorial publication, normally they don't do that. They're not willing to foot the bill for that. But for an advertising campaign, they do, and that is the goal. When you're shooting editorials and getting published, it's generally to shoot those big money jobs, because that is what it leads to, are those big money jobs. And that's where I want you guys to move into, is those big money jobs, shooting the most epic productions imaginable and creating content that is totally over the top, totally the best content you've ever shot in your lifetime. Like this Las Vegas workshop, I think there's the final spot left in Vegas. All the workshops are between now in Vegas and March are sold out. But if you guys are interested in doing this, this is what we did in Vegas last year. And we flew in top supermodels from LA and New York. And this one was mind blowing. Cracked Earth Desert, desert mountains. We shot with camels. We shot with a $50,000 owl. We shot with all these unbelievable Russian supermodels. We had rearing horses. It was out of this world. And it was an incredible experience. And this stuff is getting published. That's why, the front cover of this this webinar was the publication from this shoot, because our photographers that attended ended up getting published. And that's actually what we've been featuring. So it was all came from this one 5-day workshop, multiple magazine editorials. I think when it's all said and done, we'll probably have about 4 published editorials from this workshop, minimum. Okay, including at least 3 covers, which I'm really, really excited about. Okay, so please answer that. We'd love to know what you want to say in the poll. And also, please click on the link, because we would love to set up a free photographic strategy session. And guys, a lot of times photographic consultants, they might charge $200 an hour to do photographic strategy and consulting with you, we actually are offering this as an opportunity for free. And we're doing it because we believe that coaching photographers is absolutely critical to their success. And I'm not going to charge you guys for mentorship and coaching. Our photographic consultants come on here, and I think we're going to even have one join us as one of our panelists, but they guide you guys personally to maximize getting published, maximize getting winning awards. I know that Daniel Rothschild's photographers have won a whole ton of awards, in the One Island Awards, the Color Awards. Same with Priscilla Evans. She has coached photographers into winning awards. And I know that this year from the One Island Awards, we're going to be winning a ton. We had so many amazing submissions, and we also, as BK mentioned, that had published Adam Friedman, his image also won him #1 Fashion Photographer of the Year award in the One Island Awards in 2019 from our workshop. And to me, it really makes me proud, because I love to see that kind of success, winning #1 Fashion Photographer of the Year. That's a really big deal, and I'm proud of Adam Friedman for doing that. It's incredible, and getting published and getting covers. But we also have a lot of other awards and a lot of other successes. I would love to bring on, and shortly we're going to bring on David Gesprecht, who is a photographer. So David, if you want to jump on, I'd love for you to jump on next. David, I also you also had won, had entered in the Color Awards, and you also had entered these, and had done honorable mention as well in the Color Awards. This is actually all shot at the Chicago Fashion Workshop, and these are incredible. But I also want to see you winning awards and getting published for your amazing content that you've done at all our other workshops, the ones up in Colorado, in the Winter Wonderland, the one that we did in New York on high fashion. You've created some mind-blowing content, David, and your stuff is so over the top and so incredible. Tell me about the process for you, and essentially, what did it take for you to enter your images into these award categories, and also getting published, because you've also been published a bunch of times before. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Hey, Kevin, thank you so much for inviting me. Yeah, I think these awards are just another way of getting your stuff out there, so that clients can see you. When I was looking at the Color Awards, the judges, we've got Tomasz Opapsinski from Netflix, who's the creative lead at that company. You've got from Saatchi & Saatchi, Frankie Goodwin, bunch of creative directors, and these are all people that you want to get your stuff in front of. And the Color Awards just seem like a no-brainer, especially with the stuff from the Chicago workshop. The bright red Corvette, girls in some great vintage fashion, red pops. We made some amazing images. I figured, there's got to be a good chance that that's going to catch someone's eye. Have someone look at my stuff, and it got me an honorable mention. Would I like to have gotten a little higher? Definitely, but I think I'm playing the long game. Is trying to put it out there, have people see it, and every time you can put a notch on your belt, that's something you can add to your profile, and post that on LinkedIn, put it onto your Instagram account, and it gives you cred. It gives you street cred when you're going after you talk to those creative directors, you're talking to the art buyers. It gives you something to hey, did you see this layout, this thing that from the Color Awards, or the things back in the day I got published PD Online. I got another honorable mention for a shot I did with Meryl Streep as Julia Childs. Unfortunately, PDN Online is no longer with us, but these are all places where you look at the judges, and a lot of these are creative directors. These are people you want to be talking to anyway. So if you can get your images in front of them, I think that's really, really important.
Absolutely, and this is just to show you guys the quality of who David is. And David's already a world-class photographer who's shot for House of Cards, and what you've done, Chicago Fire, you've done you've done a million, you've done all these different shows, right? That you've been the photographer for, and you've created incredible work. Super talented photographer you are already, but David wants to take it up to the next level, and I think that what he said was really valuable. He looked for who the judges were, because those are decision makers. A lot of times these award companies, you know, Lurzer's Archive, which, by the way, the great Jane Ritchie, which you know, her, David, she just got her images from the workshops featured in top 200 in Lurzer's Archive. Lurzer's Archive is a really big deal. Lurzer's Archive has all the biggest creatives are looking at that, you know, having also you know, publications like Communication Arts. He was mentioning PDN Online, which isn't online anymore, but there's also the One Island Awards. There's the Color Awards. I think that that's smart, David. So you're actively, what you're saying is you're actively looking for judges that are major decision makers you want to build a relationship with, right?
Oh, definitely. I think that's, you know, you have to be strategic. You don't want to be showing it to, you know, people that really don't matter. You know, you look at the judges and, hey, these are people I want to talk to. And, you know, and some of the panelists that you've had on at some of your workshops or even on some of your webinars, you know, I've reached out and, you know, connected with them on Instagram and other media and so that, you know, you can keep that FaceTime going and keep that build that relationship. Definitely.
Absolutely, absolutely, and definitely what he's saying too is to follow up with all of those judges as well, the panelists that he meets at the workshops, also the judges that are judging your imagery. I think that's really important. In fact, I would also recommend, I don't know if you've entered these or not, or submitted them for publication, but ones I would really love for you to publish are this story. I think, you know, these images of what you created in New York with us at the New York workshop are so mind-blowing. They're iconic, and they're images that need to be winning the One Island Awards and being published in major magazines, David, because this is A-list Vogue, Vanity Fair quality, and the content you created at this workshop is just mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. Can you give our audience a little bit of you know, insight into kind of, because one thing I like about you, David, is that you're also a go-getter. You're really good at like reaching out to people and kind of like thinking outside the box and knowing kind of like, you know, who these decision makers are. What's your strategy to finding out decision makers, finding out who the important people are? And do you have any advice to our photographers about how to reach out and get published?
Yeah, I think you want to search any kind of resource you can. You know, agency access is great. You know, I've taken the lists and, you know, I've cross-referenced those going through LinkedIn to just, you know, get a little better understanding of who I'm talking to. And that way you can have a personal conversation when you're, you know, reaching out to, you know, an art buyer or a creative director, you know, especially if they have something on LinkedIn. A lot of these guys have, you know, their own websites. So if you can, you know, comment on something like that, reach out, you know, it's all about making that, you know, making a connection beyond just you know, saying, hey, here I am. You want to be, you know, improving, you know, getting that dialogue started so that you can actually, you know, move past just getting your stuff in front of their face and, you know, actually have them consider you for, you know, the next ad job or something like that. So, yeah, you know, look at the magazines, look at who's, you know, you have to do a little bit of digging, you know, do the research, you know, see who the, you know, the decision makers are and, you know, see which way you can actually, you know, make a contact or connect them. And, you know, you can cross-reference between the multiple different platforms. You know, a lot of people are on Instagram, you have the LinkedIn, you know, you're going all the circles just to, you know, make sure that you can put up that, get some, you know, make a connection someplace and show them what you're doing.
Excellent, excellent. I like that. I like that. This is coming from a photographer, guys, that, you know, is already a successful photographer. And there's a reason that David is successful. There's a reason that, you know, he is a sought after photographer in New York. And he's, you know, shooting, these are some editorial images from him that have been in TV shows. You know, I think that listening to somebody like David, because he is a world-class photographer, he's super talented, but he also is a smart one. He's thinking about it. And it doesn't seem like you fear rejection so much, huh, David?
Luckily, you know, when you've gone through, you know, the hustle in New York, if you're not used to rejection, then I guess you've been really lucky. So yeah, you just got to keep putting it out there. You got to, you know, have your game plan and, you know, to get results and, you know, yeah, maybe 9 doors shut, but that one that opens, that gets you to the next step. And then you keep going again. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, excellent. Well, thank you, David. I really appreciate it. I love everything you had to say. I'd love to answer some more questions that people have as well. I think, you know, and David, I'd like you to answer this question from Ed Mixon. He asks, I submitted photos to several cigar magazines, but they would not respond. David, what would you say to Ed as the next strategy for somebody like that? He submitted several photos to cigar magazines, but they weren't responding to him. What would you suggest he does?
Yeah, I guess you try and get past the gate and I guess see who the decision makers are, see if they actually did see your stuff, and get on the phone. Like, it's one thing to submit something, it's another thing to, okay, you've done it, you want to check back, you want to have a conversation with someone, and just knock on that door and see who answers and see what kind of if they have any good positive or negative feedback that like to see. So that's all important stuff that you want to get some answers for, why you haven't heard, or why they didn't, you haven't been responding. So yeah, if they don't answer your emails, then next step is get on the phone, and if you can find out who the creative is, search them out on other platforms to see if there's another way to connect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's really great advice. I think that's one of the things a lot of photographers do is they just submit and they don't follow up. There's no follow through. Guys, that is absolutely key and critical. You've got to be reaching out. I would do a multi-pronged approach. If I'm contacting, first of all, I would approach it, Ed, as if I'm going to approach a cigar magazine, I want to make sure that the images feature cigars. So the images have the models using cigars in a sequence that show some kind of cool sequence about cigars, right? I'm also going to submit it. I'm going to call them, make sure they received it. I would get through the gatekeeper and speak to the photo editor of the magazine and speak to them directly about it. I would also, if they're not responding, I would reach out on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. I would reach out on every possible platform. I do that all day long. I do, and I have my team do that. If I want to reach out to somebody, I will get on with it. And thank you so much, David. I really appreciate all your insight. I think you're an inspiration to all of our photographers. You're a world-class photographer yourself, and I cannot wait to see what we're going to do together. I know, David, you and I are also doing a one-on-one together in 2022, and I'm really excited about that because we're going to make some epic magic happen.
Oh, definitely. I'm looking forward to us creating some magic, and I can't wait to see you on the West Coast in the new year.
Excellent. Excellent. Take care, David. I appreciate it.
Ciao.
All right, so you guys just heard from an amazing photographer, a world-class photographer, and he's also attended several of our photographic workshops and also is doing a one-on-one photographic experience with me where we're producing mind-blowing production for David, customized to him and what he wants, because we also do that as well. And it's not something we talk about too much, but when a photographer wants something custom, we can make anything happen, like literally anything happen. And for a world-class photographer like David, that's a perfect experience for him. And he has also attended, a series of our epic experiences from Chicago to New York to Colorado. I mean, he's been to a whole series of these. All right, guys. I also I wanted to answer a few more questions because these are fantastic, and also give you guys a little bit of insight. I mean, I just gave you a tactic of what to do when reaching out to magazines, right? Approaching them from all angles. I even did this for not only magazines, but if it's an advertising client, even a television client. I had a television opportunity that came towards me where it was a major TV show for HBO, and and I found, the decision maker about this, and I couldn't, and I didn't immediately get a hold of them. So I reached out on literally 4 different platforms, and I was able to get a hold of them within 10 minutes and have them calling me back. And now I'm doing a major TV show at my castle in France. And it's going to be, literally a life-changing and transforming experience where I'm host directing and producing an amazing show that's going to be featuring my castle in France, which is going to be insane. But the reason is I hop on things. I get on top of it, and I am all over it until I know either yes or no, something's going to happen. And I want you guys to have the same gusto, the same energy when getting involved with doing the production. So I want you guys to get all of your dream experiences to come true. It's really important. And if you're not hustling and you're not being able to take that rejection and that constant, reaching out and follow up, that is what it takes, because it takes a tremendous amount of follow up. Okay, so I want to bring on a couple more panelists here because we have some amazing people on. We just heard from the owner of Number 8 magazine, BK, which is amazing. We had the great David Gesprecht coming on and talking about his experiences and how he's able to get published and also getting in awards, which is amazing. I also would really love to get on with one of our other photographers, Martika Gartman. Now, Martika, you know, I want you to jump on, and Martika, I really, really want to tell your story, because I just received an email from Martika, and there she is. And I know, Martika, you're going to talk a little bit about your experience, but let me just preface this. Martika came to me in 2015. She was an attorney and lobbyist in Washington, D.C., you know, high profile, doing well for herself, everything, and had gotten out of that and wanted to be a photographer. And in 2015, she came to me, and she started coming to our Chicago workshops, and then has since then come to, I don't even know, maybe 10 workshops, 11 workshops or so over the years, but she has really invested in herself. But when she started, she was only making a couple $100 a shoot. She wasn't really doing a lot of, you know, of any big productions yet. And she had a kind of a challenge with some of the confidence and really being able to do the kind of things she wanted to do and getting, you know, feeling good about her photography at the highest level. She has the ability to reach out to people and hustle, but she just didn't quite have that, you know, the level of portfolio just yet. And she came to me, and I worked with her, and I said, Martika, don't worry. We're going to work with you. We're going to make magic happen. We're going to create the greatest images you've ever shot in your lifetime, and we're going to transform everything. And Martika, before you jump on, I just want to tell everybody that I received an email from you just a couple days ago, and you said that this has been the best year of your career in photography, and you're making more this year than you did as an attorney, working as an attorney. And you went from literally ground zero to where you're at now, and you are now making more now as a photographer than you were as an attorney. And I am so proud of you for that transition, doing what you love to do, getting paid what you deserve, and crushing it. So Martika, I'd be honored to have you jump on and talk a little bit about your experience.
Yes, I don't know how I ran into Kevin, and you have to excuse me, I've got laryngitis and a little bronchitis. So I don't normally sound like Brenda Vaccaro, but today I do. So Kevin saw something in my work. I remember we had a call. I was impressed that he wanted to go over my portfolio, my website, and he saw something a little whimsy, I think is one of the words he used in some of my work. And he let me partner with him on some productions of the workshops in Dallas and around Chicago. We came up with some epic ideas. We did a polo themed fashion shoot at Apollo Grounds here in Chicago. We did airport shoot in Dallas. We did had an Airstream trailer and a ranch around Dallas too. It's just been so amazing. My work has improved so much. I learned so many amazing lighting techniques from Kevin. I really owe a lot to Kevin for helping me transform my photography work. And I'm amazed how God has used Kevin in my life to help me grow my business. And he helped me to try to set goals of different each year and stuff. And so I did not expect that during a pandemic, I would increase my sales, but God has allowed that to happen. And I'm greatly thankful. And I do owe a large portion of that to going to the workshops and Kevin's mentoring.
Well, thank you, Martika. I appreciate it. And what do you feel has been like the real big turning point from like when I met you to now, as far as like, I mean, is it the portfolio? Is it the confidence? Is it the connections? What do you feel has really transformed you and is it kind of the goal to your, you know, the key to your success, I would say?
Well, I think you get a sense of satisfaction from the images you produce at one of Kevin's workshops that like, hey, I did that. And then you can go out and duplicate it for your own clients, some of it. And I think that was transformative. And now I don't really, I know I can do what I need to do for my clients. I had a client today, I do a lot of headshots. And I had a client, I went up to Pleasant Prairie last Monday, a week ago, and the client bought 22 headshots in addition to the one he had included in his package. And that's probably a record. And I think it's a testament to that my work has gotten better. Even when I don't feel confident in it, if I'm not feeling 100%, my clients still love it. I make them feel good. I make them feel like a model because of the experiences I've had at the workshops working with actual models. And I think that's something that helps my clients project themselves better.
Absolutely. You're creating this amazing experience for the customer, for the client, and creating and showing what you can achieve, you know, what they can be, you know. And in fact, these are a couple images that were during some of the workshops that you attended. In fact, I think this might have been one of the workshops you attended, 2 years ago in Chicago.
Yes.
But the production level is so high end. Martika is able to translate that high level production to her clients and get her clients to fall in love with her, get her clients to to basically just be like, oh my gosh, like you are the sought after photographer that I want to work with. And then Martika, also, you do a little extra something though. Martika's a go-getter, and she's really, really great at making the customer feel like $1 million. If it's an editorial or a portrait or headshot or whatever, you make everyone feel so good, Martika. You do the extra mile. You maybe even give them a little gift afterwards with a print.
Yeah.
You do things like little things that people don't think about or try. And Martika does it to build those relationships. And that's one thing that I want you guys to take away from is Martika is brilliant at going the extra mile and making the person feel like they're cared about and they're going to have a meaningful experience. And you know what? Who are they going to hire next time? They're going to hire Martika again. They're going to keep coming back to her because they love what she does and they're going to feel good about being in Martika's world. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Martika. And I know your voice is a little bit rough, but thank you so much for joining us and coming on. And I'm really proud of what you've been able to achieve and everything that you have done, because I mean, to be able to say that you can make more money now as a photographer than an attorney, I'm really proud of you, because I know that was your goal, to do really well as a photographer. And I've, helped you for, the last, 5-6 years to make that happen. And you have achieved it. And I'm just, oh my gosh, it means the world.
Tomorrow, talking about the things you said that I do for my clients, I got inspired because of the pandemic that the women have been suffering. And I decided to do a Christmas party for my women clients at my home. And one thing I will say is that I run my business from my home. I'm fortunate to have a nice house, but what my client said recently, he said, I was nervous about going to a studio, but then I pulled into your driveway and I felt at ease. Aww. And I get to show my Southern hospitality in my home. And I've been shooting in almost a lot of different areas of my home. So, which, I have to up my cleaning game, but it's nice that I can make this money from home. It's kind of incredible.
And COVID friendly. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Martika, for joining us. I really appreciate it. I cannot wait to work with you in the new year. I think
I'm looking forward to Leesburg.
Yeah, you're coming to the DC workshop, which is going to be amazing. And I just can't wait to make magic. That's going to be our first DC workshop. So I'm really excited to see you there. Thank you so much, Martika.
All right. Thanks. Merry Christmas.
And guys, if you haven't, asked a question yet, I encourage you guys to ask some more questions and ask them in the Q&A. I would appreciate that. Otherwise, it can get kind of lost in the chat. But we have another great question from Anna Turieva. She says, hi, Kevin. I was published at ELLE, L'Officiel, and Harper's Bazaar, but those were publications accepted as a submission through a PR agent. For some reason, when I send out an email to a magazine editors, they ignore me, but still reply to a PR agent. Have you ever had this experience? That's a great, great comment. I love it, Anna. Absolutely. I do contact them directly, but oftentimes the really high level publications, like you're talking about ELLE, L'Officiel, Harper's Bazaar, they generally want to work with their PR agents, their publicists that are sending them stuff all the time. They have the relationships, and they are, and a lot of that happens because you're scratching their back, they're scratching their back. It's a lot of that. It's a lot of kind of who's in the know and what kind of experiences they have. So remember, the PR agents and the publicists, they have relationships with the magazines, and they are bringing clients to the magazines that often are making the magazine money, like those $100,000 front page covers, things like that. Happens all the time. That's how a lot of publicists make their money, right? It's getting their clients published in big magazines, and it's a pay to play thing. So they're charging a fee, and then they're also getting them on. So just remember, that's a really important part of it, Anna, but you can also reach out directly. Also, it helps if you have an agent, if you have a photographic agent, like for instance, Jay Foster. So Jay, if you could jump on, I would be honored to have you on. as a panelist, and Jay has also been a panelist at our elite workshops. But the great Jay Foster, he is joining us from Southern California. I know we have, it's like this whole global thing going on. We've got people in, Perth, Australia, from Sydney, Australia, to Los Angeles, to Chicago with Martika, New York with David. It's really great to see everybody around the world. So Jay, now you represented some of the biggest photographers in the world. You represented like even Peggy Sirota and Michael Krakadorian. You've been, and you even represented me for a time. So I love working with Jay. He's a world-class agent, and he has a lot of experience working with only the best of the best of the best. Okay, and Jay, I imagine you've worked with quite a few magazines over the years, yeah?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
I have, and
So Jay,
a lot of good stuff you guys are talking about. It's landing really well, so I hope everybody's paying attention.
absolutely, I think they are. We've had, and I want you guys to stay on to the end because we've got even more panelists, and I want to make sure you guys see and get as much info about this as possible. Winning awards, getting published, it's important. Jay, is it important for your photographers that you represent to get published in major magazines?
Absolutely. You can imagine if you're in my shoes and you're meeting face to face with creative people, creative directors, art buyers, magazine editors, whoever it is, clients. If there's not some, pizzazz to the portfolio, or there's not some published work that's out there, it makes it very difficult for someone like me to enroll those clients and magazines into trying you or using you for a shoot. So yeah, it's super important.
Okay. And Jay, we have a question from Crystal Bear, one of our amazing photographers, which I think you might have met at our masterclass. She asks, I've asked this question of Kevin before, but is it ever a worry that you're too much of a squeaky wheel, like basically too much of a nag on the photo editor magazine? Or is it just, some crap we tell ourselves? So what do you think on that? Are we too annoying to the clients to keep following up with them, or is that what's expected?
That's a great question, Crystal. The answer is yes and no. If you're not the squeaky wheel per se, then you're not going to have the chance to get your foot in the door. So I would say that's probably an excuse most of us use just to hide behind why we're not working or why we're not getting the assignment or whatever. So if someone's really busy or, let's say annoyed, they'll let you know in a subtle way. Most people aren't obnoxiously rude and will say, hey, don't ever call me again, or, why are you bothering me? They'll be a little more subtle and just say, hey, I'm super busy, got a lot going on, I'll get back to you. That's usually the response. So I would say, Crystal, keep going. The key in being a photographer and lasting in this genre for so long, someone like me or other photographers that you're hearing from, Kevin, we're persistent. We don't give up. We don't quit. We don't take no for an answer. We don't stomp our feet and act like a 2-year-old. But we find ways. One of the other photographers was talking, I think it was David, was saying, find another angle, find another conversation, find out something about them, find another way through social media, another angle, Facebook, whatever it is, Instagram, LinkedIn, all those tools are at your disposal. So rejection is a big part of our creative industry, whether you're a photographer or someone just working in our industry. Rejection is big, and in big places like New York, LA, Sydney, wherever you are, London, Milan, Paris, the rejection's even bigger. So you just have to have that thick skin and stay confident and know who you are and, not give up. So take it with a grain of salt, be respectful, but don't let that stop you.
Well, Jay, and by the way, this website here is Peggy Sirota's. This is a photographer that you used to represent for many years. So
I recognize it well.
Yes,
it's one of the best websites probably out there.
Agreed, and I love it. And one thing I noticed about this, Jay, is that even though Peggy is one of the most sought after celebrity photographers, editorial photographers, advertising photographers out there. I mean, look at all these covers. You notice that she has so much video content. Can you talk a little bit about why video content is important even for editorial? Like why photographers should always be shooting video?
Absolutely. I mean, guys, some of you, if you're dinosaurs like me, been around for quite a while, you have to keep evolving. You have to keep staying in the now. You have to be, not getting behind. When digital photography came in, a lot of people left the industry because they just, it wasn't film or whatever the excuse was. But those that stuck around, someone like Peggy or any of the other greats that you still see their work out there, they find ways to stay relevant. And one of them is through, not limiting themselves to one medium per se. Someone like a photographer as decorated and established and recognized as Peggy Sirota, she also does video content. She also shoots commercials as a director, kind of like what Kevin does. Always being, in that conversation, if you will. And that's really the goal of all of this. Everything you're hearing today from Kevin and all his panelists so far is about being out there and exposed and getting the recognition or getting, people to go, wow, that's an amazing picture. Like you heard David say, one of his pictures got him a phone call that opened a door, so that's why photographers keep doing it no matter at what level. And if you want to be as successful as someone like you're looking at on the screen, the Peggy Sirota types, and even someone doing what Kevin does exceptionally, you have to be persistent and you have to evolve and you have to just stay with it. And it's no different. All these photographers that you admire, that you, God, I wish I had a career like that, or I want to be like that, or that's my, favorite photographer, or whatever it is. They worked super hard and they never gave up, and they found ways to evolve either through their work. They again shot video, or they got published more, like what we're talking about today, getting published, whatever medium that's on now. There's so many. Before it was so limited, right, to like magazines back in the day. I mean, that was it, catalogs. And then, all the advertising really appeared in magazines, in print, on billboards, on bus shelters, in-store display, whatever it was. But now you have so many places you could publish on your own blog and get your pictures out there consistently. And if you're hashtagging your social media to all the favorite magazines or clients that you want to work for, and the work that you're showing on the social media content is relevant to them, they'll see it. They want to know what's going on. They're trying to get the best images published for their client or their product or their magazine. That's what keeps them in the, in the now, and being the sought after magazine to buy, or the sought after, product to buy, or whatever it is. So it again, another great point and important aspect of what you guys are all up to.
Okay, and I appreciate that, Jay. I want to ask you another question. So, like, you're on the front lines because you're an agent that represents photographers. You represent, the top 1/1000th of photographer, like 1/1000th of 1% of photographers. Like, you're the total creme de la creme. You're dealing with the high level people. When you're reaching out to magazines, and do you work with publicists? Would you work with PR agents? Were you going through with the celebrities? Who are you actually communicating with, and how are you getting those big publications for the photographers?
Yeah, I would say, in essence, an agent is like a publicist to some degree. Not exactly, obviously, but to some degree. We work with the same circles or the same networks of communicating with people. So I wouldn't say it's a must. It's another great tool, if you will, to have a publicist or any PR people that support you in getting work. An agent is another great way. But it's about building relationships. I guess, I've heard a few of your panelists, and I think you even said so yourself, Kevin. It's about building relationships, and it's not always, what you know or how much you know, or you were saying about buying equipment and spending all this money. That's not the big part. The big part is, who you create relationships with, and building upon that. So for me, it's about bringing the photographer portfolio and style and work to a particular client, magazine, or agency, and getting the opportunities to bid on jobs for them or to do the next editorial. So I would say, if you know publicists, more power to you. That's great. Kevin can speak more into that, because it seems like he's worked with some directly and sees the importance of it. Obviously, the celebrities do control a lot. Kevin, you were speaking into how they want to be on that cover, so they make it happen somehow, whether it's financially or just offering themselves to it, and editors wanting to use them on the cover. But again, that's relationship based, and that's kind of what your career as a photographer, all of you, is going to be about. So if you haven't started that, or you've only done a little, and look at the opportunities you've had, it's probably because of those relationships you created, not because you submitted something, just out of the blue, and then they decided to hire you. It's probably going to be more of, you've had contact with them, you've been persistent, consistent, you followed up, you didn't give up, you kept, going after it. That's probably the biggest key.
Absolutely. I love it. And I love that kind of mantra. Jay, you're talking about being persistent and reaching out. And I think that's one of the most important things when getting published, when getting advertising campaigns, but essentially editorials just to lead into shooting the big campaigns, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. You were talking about that earlier, about the doing editorial, out of your pocket, per se. I can remember many stories back in the day that Peggy shot. And I was thinking, when I was doing production as the producer and stuff for her, I was like, oh my God, she wants to do this prop. She wants to get, like you were talking about, those owls and the camels and the, top production. I was thinking to myself, this is an editorial, nobody's paying for this. I know the magazines are paying, $500 a page, or if you're lucky, a little more than that. But, you shoot 10 pages and that's, seems like a lot of money. Like, okay, that's $5,000. But, you have to produce the best shoot you can, because one, you don't know if you're going to get that opportunity again to do a story for them. So you better knock their socks off. So photographers will dip into their pocket and go, hey, this is my publicity. This is where I spend my money, is marketing myself, is getting myself out there and recognized. And if you get in a magazine like that and hundreds of thousands of their readers see your work, more importantly, the advertisers see your work, because they follow those magazines to see who's the shooter this week, who's really, bringing some amazing imagery. They seek you out. So don't be afraid on those editorials to do it the way it needs to be done, and don't cut corners. I'm not saying be frivolous and, be out of control, but if you know that is going to make the story, and by taking some of Kevin's workshops and stuff, a lot of you already know this. And those of you that haven't taken those workshops, I encourage you to do it, because you will see the production value that he brings to these workshops, which is essentially the production value that needs to be brought to your photo shoots. And for clients to want to work with you, or magazines or whoever to want to work with you, they want that production value. And I'm not just talking about the props. I mean, even the models, the subject matter that's in front of the camera, by working with these top models that you're going to have the opportunity in these workshops, it sets up your portfolio to look like dynamic and like impactful, and like, who is this photographer? I want to work with this person. I mean, that's really what you're after.
They have impact, right? Images like this. This was at our, Vegas workshop.
Yeah.
Impact. That's what we're going for. And that's why, she got a cover this month in Gloss magazine. This was Joy Stratz, on the left-hand side there. And the full editorial is incredible. So Yeah, so we're
Beautiful.
looking for big production, and this is kind of one of the issues, though, Jay. You mentioned you have to showcase big production, but the problem is magazines don't have the budget for it, do they? So do you
No, they don't.
put it out of pocket and you spend 20 grand on like a big shoot or whatever, and that's doing it cheap, for one day, or maybe even 40 grand, or do you, how do you get that level of production? At the Epic workshops, you're going to do 5 of these shoots, 5 of these massive scale productions that are on another planet of quality and scale, and yet it's just it's such a huge benefit, and it's a financial windfall because you're going to end up getting so much out of it, and the images and the quality and the production level is iconic, and then you can use that to get more magazines to publish you, to get top models to work with you, and to shoot the greatest images you've ever shot in your lifetime and actually pursue your dreams, just like Martika did. Martika is now crushing it, making more money than she ever did as a lawyer. I'm proud of that. I find that amazing. The photographers that are now booking 6-figure campaigns and are really crushing it. I've worked with photographers over the years. Now I've done this for 12 years, Jay, and I have coached thousands of photographers to achieve their dreams. And it is amazing how many people we've touched, and you as well, because you've been a part of it, Jay. I've had you on as a panelist, and the guidance that you've given our photographers have helped them so much achieve their goals and dreams. Jay, are there any last strategies or words that you would give as words of advice to get published, to get in awards? Any last things you'd like to say before you jump off when we move on to our next panelist?
Yeah. It's a bit redundant, but David touched on it. Even BK in a way touched on it, and so did Martika, and you have as well, over and over. And it's about getting the work out there, number one. Okay. But if you're getting work out there that's not highest quality, the best of the best, then you won't get published. It's kind of hand in hand. It sounds a little cut to the chase, but that's what it is. I mean, think about it. Magazines want to publish only the best of the best work that's out there. Clients, advertisers spending millions of dollars on these campaigns only want the best of the best photography and photographers' work out there. I don't think anyone would argue with that. And that doesn't mean any level. Like we've spoken about, you shared with, there's different levels of magazines internationally, not just here in the US, but internationally. There's also regional, there's also local. There's so many places to get your work published. The competitions, like what David was talking into, and submitting your work to that. Look who's looking at it. The top creative people in that particular region. Let's say it's in Los Angeles. So it's the top creative people are invited to be panelists or invited to be judges in those contests, just like those portfolio reviews that you can pay to go to, right? Those are the top creative people out there giving their time to look at, not only because they want to see what works out there and find the new talent, but they're also sharpening their skills by like, what is the work looking like? What is the trend? Who, what is it looking like? So there's such a melting pot of that whole process that you guys all have to stick with and continue to put the best work out there. Don't have your website and portfolios looking like all mixed up with images from all kinds of different things. Be really focused, have your your specialty, be really good at it. So even a wedding photographer was asking questions, but if he or she was to come to something like this and do a workshop of high fashion and incorporate that into their niche of wedding photography, it would catapult them into the next level. It would get them recognition. They'd be able to show that in their portfolio, their social media, their website, and continue to try to drive work to yourself. I mean, that's the biggest thing. We want to get our photos published because we want that recognition. We want to reach a broader audience. We want to attract more, clients, and we want to build that reputation so that people want to work with us. And one last thing, Kevin, you spoke about it, was about the production value, from models to sets, to location, to the equipment, to the lighting, to everything that's going on that you produce on these photo shoots. that is what, if you want to be in those magazines and those kinds of clients we're talking about, and this is to all the photographers, what not a better place to get comfortable doing that. One, finding out how to do it if you don't know how to do it, produce these big shoots. But if you already know how to do it, but you're practicing it and you're practicing it at the next level, and practice your work and practicing reaching each level up is essential. So that's kind of my 2 cents there, or my closing thoughts on getting your work published, why it's important, and how to go about it, and how to have the success you want.
I love it. I love it. I really appreciate it, Jay. I mean, this is such a great opportunity for our photographers. And I know a few of you guys that are on right now know Jay, but those of you guys who don't, to talk to personally and hear from a world-class agent that represents photographers is an incredible opportunity. And I'm really thankful, and I'm totally humbled that I have you on, Jay, because it's amazing to have you on. You're such a big deal in the industry, and I really appreciate it because your insight is just invaluable to our photographers. So thank you so much, Jay. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
I love all your insight. You're amazing. Have a good one, man.
Of course, anytime. Good to see you all.
Absolutely. So guys, and I'm about to bring Priscilla Evans on, and I know I've mentioned in the chat about setting up a 2022 photographic strategy session, and it's about getting published. It's about getting your business ready for 2022. It's about winning awards. It's about how do you take yourself to the next level? How do you get that book? How do you reach out to these decision makers? How do you get published? And I want to talk a little bit about this because Priscilla, she's my production coordinator. Priscilla has been with me on all these amazing productions. So all the stuff you see here with the horses and the parachutes and the equestrian, all this stuff, the $50,000 owls, all the crazy stuff in the desert. Priscilla is the genius behind a lot of all that magic, and she knows how to make things happen. She brings these unbelievable animals in, all this stuff. And also, if you look here, her photographers, many of them are winning major awards. This is just an example of some of them. But some of our photographers are, winning awards in the One Island Awards. And also, if you look down here, this is Adam Friedman's award, who he won #1 Fashion Photographer of the Year award in the One Island Awards. And I know, Priscilla, I think some of your photographers did really well this last year in 2020 and are going to be winning awards in 2021. So Priscilla, can you talk a little bit about awards and why that's important, and and essentially, what photographers should be doing to kind of raise their profile? And also, before you jump on, I just want everyone to know that in the chat there is a link to jump on a one-on-one strategy session. You can talk to one of our professional photographic consultants, whether it's Daniel Rothschild or Priscilla Evans or any of the other ones on our team. But I would recommend that you set one of those up because it's a great opportunity. It's totally free, and she can help, or like Priscilla could totally help maximize your photographic journey and help you with your 2022 strategy. So if you haven't done that, make sure to click that link and set up a consult. It's in the chat. In fact, I'll post it again. But all right. So Priscilla, why don't you tell us a little bit about that and what your photographers are doing to get in major winning awards, getting in magazines, and taking their profile to the next level?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Kevin. So, I mean, there's so much going on in the industry. There's a lot of awards out there. I know I've got photographers that have entered in. So One Island, which I think the deadline has been extended for that again. So there's the One Island Awards. There's also, I think, I don't know if International Color Awards was extended as well. That one might have cut off in December. So a couple of names for the diary and the calendar here. Also International Photography Awards. I think that's probably more like next year submission time. But there's a lot out there, and I think what's really interesting, especially about what you just said, Kevin, is that a lot of the photographers that we coach and we mentor and we guide, they entered and won a whole lot of awards last year, and they're entering again this year. So something that we've talked about, we've mentioned today, and we've seen in these amazing video reels and these incredible websites, especially Peggy's, that is insane. And I'm going to take a closer look at that after, because I'm certainly going to use that as like a benchmark for a lot of new brands that a lot of our photographers are starting. But if you looked at Peggy's, and I was kind of counting as her video reel was playing there while Jay was talking, but it looked like she had about a dozen covers and like magazine editorials that flashed up like really, really quickly within that video reel. I love the fact it was so fast too, because it means that you're kind of like forcing the viewer to see a lot of this content. And a lot of the time I see awards that are like photographers have won maybe 10 years ago, maybe the website's a little outdated, and I think that, you know, often they're old awards, or they're buried under their, you know, different folders in a really kind of complex website. And I love the combination of what she's done there, and having basically, it looks like really fresh content, fresh awards, recent awards. And something I'd like to find out from you, Kevin, as well, is how fresh is good, and also how old is too old to be on the website. I would love to know that too. And
I love that question, Priscilla.
Yeah.
Let me answer that, because that's one of the things that photographers struggle with. It's one of the biggest mistakes they make, is they showcase old work that's from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And I can tell you what, just as a warning, if any of you guys ever tell anyone that you've been shooting for 30 years, you're done. You're over. No one's ever going to want to work with you. It is not a benefit to have experience in photography. I know it sounds like it might be, but it's not. It kills you. The industry doesn't want that. The industry that's going to be hiring you, these are 22 to 26-year-old art directors at ad agencies. The photo editors are all in their 20s and 30s primarily, maybe early 40s, but they are definitely interested in somebody young and fresh. They're not interested in somebody. So, you know, somebody like Peggy, who has been in the industry a long time, she would probably never say, oh yeah, I've been shooting for 30 years. She's not going to want to say that. She's going to want to talk about and showcase what her hottest, newest, freshest work is. And I think that you guys should all be doing the same. So make sure that your work does not look dated. Your work should never look like it's from the 90s or the early 2000s or even the 2012s. You want to make sure your work looks like it's 2022. That's what we want. You need to be not only current, but ahead of the game, looking fresh and in. And that's what magazines are all about, because magazines get published and then they get forgotten about. So you need to make sure that you get stuff published. You need winning awards and getting published all the time and shooting new content constantly. That's why we are the Photography Workshop series, because it's a series of high-end productions that'll take you to the next level. And that's why a lot of photographers like David Gesprecht, who's taken several workshops and a one-on-one. Martika Gartman has taken like 10, 11 workshops, and she signed up for another one. They have developed this series, and they're making more money and more success because of it. So Priscilla, your photographers that you're coaching, it sounds like they're submitting to submitting for awards. Do you feel like that's going to kind of raise up their profile when viewed by other clients, winning, say, #1 fashion photographer of the year award?
Yeah, I mean, it keeps you fresh. It keeps you relevant. It keeps you current. It makes it look like you're busy right now and you've got, things going on right now. I saw, I think, a couple of our photographers, in fact, that already have submitted to One Island. I don't know if anyone else is getting, probably a lot of us on here, getting the One Island marketing emails. And I actually saw some of their submissions. They're using it in the marketing content, which is insane. So obviously they like what they're getting, and I think we're going to have a really awesome year this year with awards. But definitely, you got to stay fresh, got to stay current. And as Kevin was saying, that's why a lot of our photographers are, maybe spending the majority of their marketing or branding budgets with us, each year. It's because, from one shoot, one workshop, we're not just on the same production, same scene for 5 days. We'll do different locations across the 5 days, different sets and scenes going on all day, every day. So from one workshop, you've got enough like marketing content and branding content to be able to enter in competitions, but also get published with different content for the entire year like that follows. And of course, depending on the editorial calendars and when they want what content, that allows you plenty to space it out over a year, keep it really fresh, and kind of plan out, I guess, the branding plan for the following year, so that you've always got something in the works. There's always something fresh that's about to be seen somewhere in the world. And as well, with magazines, don't forget, with all those lists as well that Kevin was talking about, there are so many to approach, and there's a lot of international magazines, and it's a great thing to add into your bio, to be able to say internationally published photography. Just some catchphrases like that are easier to achieve and add in than I think a lot of photographers probably realize.
Absolutely. And as we've been looking at right here, these are some of the recent entries that actually feature some of the stuff we just did, which is really special. You know, it's pretty awesome to see some of our photographers images that they just shot, you know, at workshops, and seeing them already in these. And if they're featuring them in all their marketing, I think it's a pretty good shot that they're going to be doing pretty well in these awards, as they usually do. I mean, we tend to win every year. We win in the One Island Awards, and I think that's really, really spectacular. And I've had actually a series of emails about this, Priscilla, not just one. We've had a series of emails. I think we've been featured in like 3 of the recent emails. This is from the New York workshop that we just did.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, look at this, you know, and we also have been incorporating a tremendous amount of diversity at a lot of our workshops, having diverse models in ethnicity, age, and different looks. So we've incorporated this, and not only in fashion, but really heavily in lifestyle, but creating a mind-blowing content like this. And it's pretty cool to see, you know, the Fashion Photographers of 2021 in the awards, they're featuring, like in every one of the emails I've been getting, they've been featuring our photographs from our workshops. So a lot of our photographers are, you know, being featured already, and I know that they are going to be winning some. Even this one, I know these are for some of our new photographers like John Wooten, the one with the guy jumping. This was done at our masterclass. I mean, to me, that's one of the greatest male fashion images I've personally ever seen. I'm totally in love with this. And Nick Seth Smith had submitted this one that he did at our masterclass in LA, which I'm really proud of too, to see this submitted. So I'm really excited. And Priscilla, do you have any words of advice for your photographers? Because you're a photographic consultant and you're guiding photographers, you're a production coordinator, and you're behind the scenes making all this magic happen. Do you have any words of guidance for, you know, as far as why it's important to have large scale production in your book, and maybe why, you know, how they can use the workshops to maximize their photographic career?
Yeah, I mean, no matter who the client is, no matter who the goal client is, you've got to be showing them, and to land, no matter, you know, who that client is, you've got to land them with content that is way above and beyond probably what you'll even do for them. So you've got to show them something that's going to be insane and blow them away, and that's in the form of, you know, all the editorials you'll be published in, and, you know, all of these amazing awards that you've got, all this amazing content that gets you there. And then, you know, if that's your branding content, then you're sure to land clients left, right, and center, you know, across the field and across the world. So it's, you know, it's about what you show them, and as Jay was saying, being really specific, you know, about who sees what. You know, you don't want to risk having a really top decision maker see some average content, or, you know, just a range even of content on the website. You want to keep it as high level and consistently high level as possible, so that at all times, you know, you're never ever risking like turning away a prospective client who could be, you know, the next big one. So yeah, definitely, I think something we haven't talked about very much over the course of all the webinars we've done this year is how the workshops, if the goal is to get published or to win an amazing award, the workshops are a great way to make that happen. Because, you know, for us, we can take these insane ideas, we get to, you know, basically say, right, give us the ideas, give us all the creativity that you've got, all those dream shoots that you've ever wanted to do. And, you know, if it's, you know, bringing horses in, rearing horses, you know, trick horses. I saw some butterflies actually on in some of, I think, Peggy's website again, and that's something we haven't done before that I was getting kind of excited about for next year. I think that would work really, really well in some of our particular lifestyle shoots. But you know, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be, you know, us that inspire everything. It totally comes from our photographers. Most of the, I think, ideas for all of the shoots we've done this year have been photographer driven, so our attendees are coming up with them and we pull it together. But obviously, you know, the budget to do that on your own is pretty ridiculous, you know, so we have the ability to make it happen, and you have the ability to take the credit and then go and market that. So it's a pretty cool system. I love working in it.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Priscilla. That was some brilliant guidance, and I'm really excited to have you know, you guys on coming and meeting us live and having these experiences firsthand. You know, and thank you guys so much for joining us with all this useful, amazing information. And I can tell you what, I can promise you that you're going to shoot the greatest images you've ever shot in your lifetime at these epic photographic experiences, these 5-day workshops. And if you're interested in something more, say something on the business side, the marketing side, how to reach out to from photo editors at magazines to publicists to ad agencies, all of that. We also offer a high-end intensive workshops specifically on photographic branding, photographic marketing, developing your portfolio, art direction, storytelling. We even have one coming up on retouching, master retouching. If you've never done this before, but we're going to offer like a 6-hour intensive on post-production, retouching and mastering your images. And it's going to be incredible because it's not only going to be by myself, because I'm a master retoucher, but also I'm bringing on a series of world-class experts in retouching and post-production and making your images amazing. That's why all these images you guys have been seeing today, they're not just gorgeous images, they're also polished, right? The storytelling, the production, the coordination, the models, the retouching, all of that stuff is perfect before it goes into publication. So making sure that you've got the best of the best, the creme de la creme, that is key for your portfolio. It's key for your clients. And we offer epic workshops on all of that. For those of you guys who attend this workshop, we have an opportunity for you guys to enroll in any of those epic experiences, where it's marketing and branding a portfolio, closing the deal, which is the sales side of photography, art direction, or retouching. So we have all of those in all of our intensive virtual workshops, which are all done on Zoom. They're 6-hour intensives. You can watch them in rebroadcast. You can watch them live. It's up to you. Depends on which ones you want to do. And also 100% of that enrollment counts towards any 5-day workshop. But most importantly, if you guys are interested in any of the experiences that we have talked about today, all of our photographic experiences go up by about $2,100 next year. In 2022, they go up. So if you guys are interested in enrolling in anything we talked about, get in now, because it will save you a fortune. And I know we mentioned this over the course of this last year, but we always do this. We give you guys an opportunity to enroll in all our 2022 workshops during 2021 enrollment pricing. So it saves you $2,100. That's really significant, especially for photographers that enroll in multiple workshops. So you're enrolling in 4 workshops, it's going to save you almost $9,000 in enrollment. So definitely take advantage if you do want to take part in these. They're all almost sold out. I know Newport is completely sold out. There's a waiting list. Vegas, I think there's 1 spot left. Miami, there's 1 or 2 spots left. The workshops are all almost full. So if you want to do these, make sure to hold a spot, because they will transform your life, and it'll give you an opportunity to shoot the greatest images you've ever shot in your lifetime. And you can take it to the next level. You can get published from the images you even shoot at the workshops. You can win awards from images you shoot at the workshops. You can become world class like that within a 5-day experience. You can even go from like 0 to hero instantly, just like Martika did. She went from doing a couple $100 a photo shoot, and now she's even making more money than she ever did as a lawyer. That's really incredible, and that's what I'm so proud of, to work with you guys, and we'll help guide you there. We're going to work with you before the workshop, during the workshop, and even after the workshop to maximize your potential, to get you published, to get you winning awards, to being successful. So thank you guys so much for joining me in the 7 secrets, even though we ended up revealing a lot more, but the 7 secrets to publishing your photography and winning awards. And I cannot wait to see you guys in person at one of our epic 5-day experiences or our 1-day intensives as well. So I look forward to talking to you guys soon, and make sure to set up one of these strategy sessions with one of our amazing photographic consultants. Take care, guys, and see you later.